Welcome back to Andy's Attic. Obviously, I'm Andy. Um, Without the Santa beard, I finally shaved it off. I'm feeling a little bit more like myself right now, as far as looks go, anyway. I don't have my readers on tonight, so I'm just going to go off the cuff. I have a couple things written down here about a couple channels I actually want to shout out. Um, I want to shout out to BK at Mac Whack Stack. Um, Love your channel. Love your support. Um, if nobody has checked him out yet, if there's anybody that hasn't checked him out yet, please go to his channel. Um, Funny. Love his sense of humor. Um, love the low maturity level because I'm the same way. Uh, Trying to be a little more comfortable with this camera. There's not too much that intimidates me in life other than spiders and sharks, but this little, 3.5 by 6.5 screen here intimidates the hell out of me. I don't know why, but it does. Anyway, besides MacWack Stacks, I also want to shout out Drew at Clean Cheap Shots. Me and him had a little email thing going on this week. Got to know him a little better. He has a really great channel as well. He's the editing's not as much as like MacWack Stacks is, but it's very professional. He's a very professional speaker. He explains details about different players and cards, and it's a great channel. He's a great guy. All right, moving on. I'm going to be showing part 3 tonight of my 1979 Topps football series. You're going to be seeing a lot of Steelers. And before I go and show any cards, I wanted to explain also, because a couple people were showing some interest, why I'm not a Steelers fan. Because I am a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, I am a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and college football and basketball, it's Pitt Panthers all the way. So, little story goes, I was probably in like 3rd grade. Steelers had already won a couple championships, and all the kids in my classroom that weren't Eagles fan, which there were a few, but there were a lot more Steelers fans, I guess, with them winning the Super Bowls. There was a lot of Steelers stuff around northeastern Pennsylvania and stores and stuff like that. And everybody had Steelers, hats and coats, jackets, book bags. Everything was Steelers. And I just kind of like to be different. So what I did was, my gram, she's probably my biggest sports influencer, believe it or not. I went and I talked to her and I asked her who the Steelers' main rival was back, then, and she had told me it was the Oakland Raiders. And I had read some books at the library on some old football, and I became intrigued with the Raiders. So, that's how I became a Raiders fan. It's not as complicated as what people may think. I also wanted to say, most of my collection, I do have a lot of Raiders cards, but most of them are ungraded. I have like a 3,500 card monster box full of Raiders cards. But when it comes to the graded cards, I tend to get more Steelers just because of I'm not even sure why, but maybe because we're in Pennsylvania and I feel if anything ever happened, they'd be easier to sell than Raiders cards or whatever. So anyway, we're gonna start off. I'm a fan of dynasties. I'm a fan of tradition, and you got to give credit where credit's due. They were an awesome team back in the 70s. You had the Steel Curtain and, the Blonde Bomber, Terry Bradshaw. They had a pretty potent offense, and he was a gunslinger. Really strong arm. tough guy. You know, had some troubles there in the beginning when he was a rookie and stuff, and him and Chuck Knowles didn't see eye to eye in a lot of instances, but called his all his own plays. You got to give him credit, and probably would have put up a lot more numbers too, because back then it was more of a running game. All right, let's turn this camera around and look at some cards. All right, we're going to start off with it's the Steelers Team Leaders Checklist card. As you can see, it's Franco Harris up top there, Hall of Famer. You got L.C. Greenwood down in the bottom right, awesome defensive end. And you also have Tony Dungy in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm pretty sure this is Tony Dungy's only card, and it's considered his rookie card, I guess. So you have the rushing leader up top. You have, actually, that's the kickoff returns leader in the top right. And then you got the sacks leader with L.C. Greenwood and the interception leader with Tony Dungy. Next we have Rocky Bleier. He was in the backfield with Franco Harris. He actually has a movie. It was a TV-made movie about him. He actually served in Vietnam and ended up getting part of his foot injured. So, and he came back and worked hard and, you know, got back on the roster and ended up being on their Super Bowl teams. I actually have a copy that I want to show you. The movie was called Fighting Back, the Rocky Bleier story. This was a VHS, I think, only, and I ended up getting it transferred onto a DVD. I met a guy who actually, I guess, knew Rocky personally, and he decided to give him a director's cut, which is, it's the movie without the commercials. And the guy asked me if I wanted a copy, and I said, hell yeah. So it's a really good story. I remember it as a kid when it was on TV, and I sometimes watch it even still now. Other than Brian's Song, it's probably my second favorite football movie. Next we have Mel Blount, another Hall of Famer for the Steelers, played on the Super Bowl team, I think the 78 and the 79. I'm not sure about the 75, but anyway, they actually made a rule about him. He changed the game as far as defensive back goes, and you know, now you have to make contact within the first 5 yards. He destroyed wide receivers. Next we have the Blonde Bomber, Terry Bradshaw. Strong arm, stronger than I remember. I watched some videos of him, and man, he could sling that ball. He's also was a broadcaster, and now he sits in with, I'm pretty sure it's Fox. I don't watch too much football anymore. Too many role changes, and to be honest, being a Raiders fan, after the tuck rule incident, which I call it something else that rhymes with tuck, I really lost interest in actually watching football and focused on other things. Still love collecting. I still love the sport. It's just I just don't watch it as much with work and family and stuff like that. So I used to dedicate Sundays to football back then, and I just can't get into it as much anymore. Next we have tight end Benny Cunningham. Here's kicker Roy Gerela. I don't really remember him for whatever reason. I remember when Matt Barr came in for the Steelers. I really don't remember Roy Gerela too good. Next we have Mean Joe Green. Who doesn't remember those commercials? The Coke commercials back in the day. He was a destructive defensive player. He was one of the key players in that on that defensive line. They would double team him pretty often, and it would free up a lot of the other guys. Next we have Mr. L.C. Greenwood, defensive end. I used to like watching him. He was just tall and lanky, and he wore those rec specs or whatever they were called back then. And I kind of that's what I mean about being different. Like you had Mean Joe Green and Jack Lambert and all these great defensive players, and I include L.C. Greenwood in that greatness. I feel like he should probably be in the Hall of Fame. He was actually my favorite guy on that defensive line. Turning it around again, I found this interesting that LC is a former school teacher. I would have never thought that. You know, it's actually really interesting. Next we have tight end Randy Grossman. Not sure if this would qualify in your stash collection, BK, but I see a decent stash going on there. We have Jack Ham. He was an all-pro linebacker. Another key defensive player. Played at Penn State. Same as this guy here. Played at Penn State. Had Franco's Italian Army back in the day. I love seeing that banner up in the stands, to be honest. Cornerback Ron Johnson. All-pro tackle John Cobb. That's how I pronounce it. I'm not sure. It might be John Kolb, but I've always said Cobb, so hopefully that's the right pronunciation. Here we got one of the meanest linebackers, middle linebacker. He was a mean dude. Not the biggest middle linebacker you'll see, or even linebacker for that matter, but he was fierce. It's Jack Lambert. I remember seeing plenty of pictures of him back in the day with, he's missing his front teeth. He just nasty. Went to Kent State, and I'm pretty sure I watched something on him a few years back where he actually was a game commissioner or some kind of forest type thing. I really want to meet him out in the middle of the woods if I was doing something wrong, that's for sure. We got wide receiver Jim Smith. A lot of people forget about John Stallworth because they had Lynn Swann on the other side. Incredible wide receiver, stuck around long enough. Had some pretty decent statistics. Hall of Famer. Beautiful touchdown catch against the Rams in that Super Bowl. It's fitting, too, that I have the NFL Super Bowl at the bottom. In case anybody was ever wondering what my background is for this right now, it is actually a Tudor electric football game. I don't know if you remember those or not. You know, you plug it in, you set the players up, and there's little knobs on the bottoms of their bases that you could actually, you know, get them to try to get them to go in a direction. And a lot of times they would just, you know, go around in circles and stuff like that. It was loud and noisy. But yeah, that's my, it's probably from the early 80s. I actually had one prior to this from the 70s when I was a little kid that was made a lot better. But that's what I'm using for my backdrop right now. Next, we have running back Sidney Thornton. Pretty sure this is his rookie card. Mike Wagner, safety. He was a really good tough player as well. I would have to say probably all those Steelers defensive players back in the day were pretty tough. All right, this here's Mike Webster. He was an all-pro center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a 17-year career with the Steelers, and I'm pretty sure he ended up with the Chiefs. He is a pretty interesting story as well. He ended up dying at the age of 50 years old from a heart attack, but he suffered from CTE, which they found during his autopsy. He had a total personality change after he retired from football. He was living in a van, as far as I remember, for a long time, and pretty much couldn't even take care of himself. It's a tragic story to imagine 50 years old dying. I'll be 55 in August, and, you know, I've had friends, you know, from high school, friends in my life that have died at an early age, and it's just a tragic story. We got Dwight White, which I always loved his name, how it kind of rhymed like Dwight White. It's just so smooth. He was defensive end on the other side from LC Greenwood. And then we got a ungraded Donnie Shell rookie card. He was a safety, Hall of Famer. I didn't get this graded yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to send it in. I've been looking at some 8s and 9s. 9s go really high. I'm not sure if it's because of the centering on this card or if just because it's his rookie card, you know, with the Steelers. But pretty pricey. 8s, but either an 8 or a 9, I might add to the collection. I'm trying to actually get that whole set, the team set, and in PSA grades, 8 or 9s. I'm happy with 8s and 9s. Here we have Ahmad Rashad. He was also an announcer at one time, a broadcaster, I mean. He ended up marrying, well, she's now Felicia Rashad. I don't remember what her maiden name was. She was on the Cosby Show as Dr. Huxtable's wife. I also wanted to say a lot of the stuff that I'm saying here is off the cuff, and it's just by memory, and my memory might not be that great. So if anybody wants to, you know, comment and just correct me if I'm wrong, that's fine. Carl Eller. He was a pretty fierce defensive end himself with the Vikings. The Purple People Eater. I love a lot of those old nicknames for defenses, like the Orange Crush, Doomsday Defense, Purple People Eater, Fearsome Foursome, Steel Curtain, obviously. Just so cool. Just so cool. And we're going to end the PSA cards right now with Leroy Harris. He was one of the ones that was actually in the pack that I got. It got destroyed, obviously, when I was a kid. So I just seen this one like maybe a week or two ago on eBay, and it was fairly cheap for a 9, so I picked it up. Because what I'm really trying to do is, besides getting star players and Hall of Fame players, and I'm trying to put the Steelers team set together, the Cowboys team set together, because they were, that was my jam right there back in those days with the Super Bowls. I remember, the Steelers and Dallas and Steelers and Rams, and the 80s with my Raiders and the Redskins, like all them teams. That's where my sweet spot is, mostly 70s and 80s. I have a few more here that are from my original pack, ungraded. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to send them in or not, or if maybe I could find them cheaper than the price of sending them in to try and get them graded. But this is Willie Buchanan, all-pro cornerback. This here is Fred Dryer, really good defensive end for the Rams. If you remember a series back in the 80s called Hunter, he was the main character. That was a really good show. Me and my grandma used to actually watch that together, and she would tell me that's the next football player. I have really good memories of my grandmother, as I call her, Granny. She taught me a lot. She would explain a lot about roles and stuff. I remember sleeping over her house on weekends and, staying up. She would let me stay up late to watch, home boxes inside the NFL, or, even boxing matches that were on home box back then. And to finish off the run, I have 4 ungraded cards from back then. That these are duplicates. I've already found these in a decent grade for a decent price. And I'm just hanging on to them for nostalgic reasons. All right, guys, this concludes, excuse me. This concludes my 79 Top series. I hope you enjoyed. If I add enough, within the next couple years or whatever, I'll probably make some more videos pertaining to this set. Because I have a few to go. I'm always watching, trying to remember what ones were in that pack that I remember from my childhood and stuff like that. If anybody knows the Coalition, I'm not sure if you would or not on a grocery pack, but I definitely know Wilbert Montgomery was in it. Charlie Joyner was in it. Quite a few guys that I've shown you were in it. All right, let me turn this camera around. Let me get back to business here. All right, that wraps it up on my 1979 Tops. I'm still debating on what I want to do for my next video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back and watching. Hit the like button, comment. You want to sub. I have lots more to show. All right. Until, one more thing. I just wanted to let Drew know. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. I hope you like that one, Drew. Anyway, join me again next week for another episode at Andy's Attic. I'd really appreciate you tuning in. And until then, have a super freaking awesome day. Life's too short. Let's just enjoy it. I'm trying to enjoy it. This is something I enjoy doing. And love one another. I actually, I wear this shirt a lot when we go on family gatherings, even though it's the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates theme song from Sister Sledge. My shirt says "We Are Family," and I know it has a Pirates emblem on there, but you know what? This community, I consider us family. We all have similar interests, Let's just love one another. This world's a crazy world. Just do something nice for somebody, like Mr. Fisher Bike would say. He says that at the end of his videos. It's one of the truest statements out there in the world we live in today. All right. Have a good night, everybody.